Awesome. So we are live in the Facebook group. So welcome for all of you joining in the Facebook group or possibly on YouTube as well. So this is Airtable off the records Airtable secrets and lore week 11. We're a group of Airtable users exploring new ways to use Airtable to optimize our businesses and lives. And we are open to hearing from anyone about their experience, good or bad, using Airtable to make a positive impact in the world. So we attempt to promote people coming from any level to share their ideas or ask questions, and we also share our experiences, tips, and practices, and offer ways to get help and get involved in the community. We meet every Wednesday here in the Facebook group from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern time zone. So to kick things off, I'm going to invite or add a few more people in here into the meeting, and we can introduce ourselves now if we would like. So we got the three co-hosts. We got Devin, Chris, and myself. And what we just covered in the Clubhouse room was all of the Airtable What's New features. So they added quite a few, from syncing from Box, Google Calendar. What were some of the other ones? Jira. And also the automations with like Salesforce and Hootsuite. And they're sort of focused on marketing. But Chris, do you want to start, and I'll go get Nacho so that the people can see?
Yeah, you gotta get Nacho. So yeah, so we just had a lot of talk around some of the updates that we think they were having or not having, which I thought was, we'll see. I think the worst is over. But in the new, look, it's the Nacho, the unofficial off the record. Is he sleeping, or is he always lay like that?
He was sleeping, but he generally just lays like this.
Okay. He's the unofficial mascot.
Oh my God.
You need a picture of Nacho's face on our logo. Just his face spinning.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Get him in the intro to the video. Just his head spinning on the record.
So what I thought was really interesting was both CRM and who was this other org? Demand Gen both made a big deal about the marketing integrations that Airtable is doing.
Those sound like paid promotions to me.
Do they sound like paid promotions to you?
Like if people are making a big deal about the marketing thing, that sounds like something.
These marketing people are, I mean, they're hardcore. That's their whole life, is like, any way to measure and get this stuff on track. So we'll see. Something else I thought was really interesting. I went ahead and pulled up a listing of the new Airtable videos this week. I thought this might be interesting for us to take a peek at. So there was a lot of content that's get created about Airtable every week. Look at this. This is all less than 7 days old, all Airtable.
That is a ton.
Who are all? I put a filter on it just for this week. So it's pretty interesting. I think of interest here, though, Garrett is like going all 2015 with his thumbnails now. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, he definitely changed them.
Yeah, they're almost as good as yours. But yours still has bigger. Yours has bigger. Yours has bigger text. Yeah, but there's a lot. You did a progress bar video. Oh my God, Ben, how many videos are you doing a week?
6 videos a week.
My God, I think I could even keep up with that.
I took a break for a week to see how it impacted everything, but I'm back on the horse now.
And every video is about 10 minutes?
Recently there's been a lot that were shorter, because if I don't need to take more than 10 minutes, I won't. Gareth, all of his videos are longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ad rev.
Where do you come up with the ideas for this?
A lot from the Facebook group, from anybody that asks a question. It goes in a database. Nobody knows that, but if I can answer people's question once, usually the question will come back up again 2 or 3 more times. So people must be asking for it, searching it, if they're willing to post it in the Facebook group.
That's the other question I have on all these videos Chris has here is like, how many of these are talking about the same thing?
For me?
Well, just like that whole, in the past 7 days, like.
I don't know where other people get their video.
No, I just mean how many. I'm just curious, like what the content is. I'm on my phone right now, so I can't quite see it. But like, are any of these videos talking about the same thing?
I'm guessing when they release new features, there's probably multiple people talking about the new features. But some people get really like into it with like scripting. Like you can see Aaron.
But yeah, so I mean, the main people are Aaron, who's been doing this forever, Gareth, and Ben. If you ever just scroll through here, but there's a lot of other folks. And I just want again a real shout out. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Airtable videos themselves, the ones they've been making, but they're quite good. And I think they do a real. Ben, do you ever watch the actual Airtable videos?
I have not recently. When I first started, I did. But
Dude, they're putting them out at a clip. Look at all these new videos.
Jeez. Okay, so 6 new ones on the last few days.
Yeah. So I just think they're really good. I've noticed a lot of their just their how-to videos, like just Airtable 101.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one, how to use Airtable getting started tutorial. This thing is ridiculously good, and it's only 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So
they have a
for
lot of really good short content, but they also have like some that are like 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Ben. How we don't need that. How are you getting when you want to transfer a base that you've created for someone? How are you getting it to them?
I generally create it in their workspace, so they would share their workspace with my email and everything, because there's a lot of stuff for API connections. So just instead of me setting up like in my Zapier and then copying that and putting it in their Zapier, I just create it in their workspace in their Zapier. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes and no. I've been reluctant to do that because then basically the client has the base before they finish paying for it.
I set up the milestones. For all the like they pay to unlock that milestone. So if they don't pay for like the whole thing, I might risk like having 2/3 of it set up and they quit. But
okay.
Paying
yeah, because what I'm going to end up doing is just having I've got 2 professional workspaces now. Mm-hmm. But what I think I'm going to do is have a kind of a third space that just is another region that I can just reassign to the client, just have them change the email on the whole space. And that just becomes theirs. And I'll just spin up another one and do the same thing over and over again. Because, when you're dealing with some clients, you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 bases, you just don't want to give them access from day one.
Yeah. Also, a lot of mine, they end up being like a project tracker for their service delivery in their company. So while it's like the same concepts each time and a similar database design, that you're like tweaking one major thing here and there, but like the structure is always pretty much the same. So I don't necessarily always have like a base already created there that I would just be able to copy into their base. Like my that dynamic.
I did the calendar connection you said earlier, and it was wickedly fast. I still can't get over it.
How fast it pulled in all those.
It was like literally instant.
Yeah. Do you have a box you can connect?
I don't have a box account. I mean, I have a box account, but I don't have any files in it.
Yeah.
So,
man, I still feel like that Jira one is a little bit too high.
You want to see another base I've been working on?
Yeah.
So for my spouse, I built something called Educator Connect. Mm-hmm. My spouse is a school teacher. So basically what Educator Connect does is basically list all the academic years. And then everything rolls up to an academic year. So academic years have events because there's a theater teacher. And then these events have calendars that then pump out to the whole school. Nice. But just think an event could be like, it could be something like, something as simple as drama club meeting. It could be something as simple as a holiday. And then within that, you've got people who go to those events. You've got vendors that support those people events, tasks that make that all line up, interactions, so emails, things that you send out to the students, individual projects students to work on, and then something called scope and sequence. So teachers have lessons they have to deliver. and then each lesson's tied to a specific event, like that classroom week. And if you open up one of these things, you can actually come in here and see the classroom work that the kids get through Schoology or whatever. And then all of that sits in something. There's a filing cabinet which holds the files, and then every teacher has to have so many CPEs every year. So we built a CPE tracker for teachers to go ahead and keep all their CPEs in here, so they can have them in one space.
Or something?
Sorry, it's really low for some reason.
Oh, is this like professional education?
So Devin, you speak, because you both talked at once, and it's really low on my side for some reason.
Here, I'll check my audio.
It's probably me, because I know Ben got really low right in the middle of making my microphone work.
What is CPE?
Continuing professional, I don't know.
Oh, continuing professional education.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And then like, Texas education, they've got this curriculum that everything has to line up to that. But it ended up being really kind of this cool thing because it allowed us to instantly build this whole system for him and his theater teaching. But then as his students go through, this is the second year we've been running it. We have like last year's historic stuff, right? And then, if a student's in drama club, it's an officer 1 year and next year, plus we have all of their plays and all the media. So the films, videos, photos from the plays. So it kind of creates this whole like unit for a teacher. They don't have any direct integration with Google Classroom yet. And a lot of that stuff you have to keep in specifically because of, just like you have privacy laws for health, you also have privacy laws for students. A lot of that stuff has to stay over there, but all the teacher-centered stuff and the management of the whole thing stays basically in here.
Nice. And so he uses that at his school, or he licenses it out to?
No, it's all private right now. If you go to his website, you'll see the in on his website under professional, under virtual classroom. He basically, this is how his students and other teachers can get in touch with him. And then you can actually spend a day in his virtual classroom. But then what I think is really cool is he's actually built a whole educator resources. So this should be familiar to you guys because you know Airtable. So teachers that don't have actual classroom lessons ready for a particular unit, they can come in here and they can download one. If they're short one day, they're like, oh, I need a lesson for this, and just grab that lesson in there. Or they can build one and upload it directly to here.
Nice. Has he seen many people upload them?
Yeah. There's a lot of teachers sharing homework in reverse, if you know what I mean.
Sharing their lesson plans.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I was kind of weirded out that that's a thing. And what I thought was really weird, because I'm old, right? And my husband's a little bit younger, 20 years younger, was a lot of teachers say literally just shop for lessons online. Like, what's the thing I'm going to do tomorrow? Like the night before. Just like, and then they complain about kids not doing homework ahead of time. I'm like, you're not doing lesson plans ahead of time.
I was recently in school, and I can definitely attest to the fact that teachers, reuse lesson plans semester after semester, and they also use other teachers' lessons plans because all of it ends up on Quizlet. Do you know what Quizlet is?
No.
Or just like on the internet, like on Quora. Quizlet is like a flashcard system.
Yeah. So there's just a bunch of services that basically like have all these baked in things. Like,
and students access them just as much as teachers. So that's just my experience with it.
Yeah. I just thought it was so weird because I was just like, I don't know. You always just think that like, kids and teachers will all do the right thing.
Assume the best in people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
I think it's interesting. Like as a kid, when you're in school, you think like the teacher is the expert on whatever they're talking about, and then you come around the corner and you realize like, they're just kind of reading off a script potentially in some cases.
We had a history professor that would read out of the textbook as his lessons plans.
Just send me home with a textbook for a week and save my time.
Yeah. So as for Airtable, we already went through some of the new features. Chris showed some of the new YouTube videos this week. Did anybody have any other YouTube or Airtable updates, any news, any predictions? we talked about some of the infrastructure, but
We still have to take time. Maybe we should plan next week's show to do our prediction base for 1 year from now.
yes. So we put out the form this week and
Yeah,
go through predictions.
Collect
Yeah,
them all week
maybe.
and then review them as part
Yeah.
of the show.
I think I actually already set up a. What was that?
I said some of them might be kind of funny, honestly, to like talk about. Like,
So we'll just post, if you're watching this, there'll be a form and it'll be a very simple form. Name is optional, but you'll put basically what we're going to do is you'll put your predictions for Airtable in this form. And then next week we'll go through the base of the submissions.
Yeah.
So
We should do that. Kind of like fantasy Airtable football.
yes.
Like, what are the things you see happening?
well, we could actually even track them, and every time they happen, we mark them as happened, and
That's what I'm saying.
so on and so forth. And how
That's what I'm
happened
saying.
in how much time since this date?
Who got it right? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let's put some money on this.
Yeah, we just do a count with like your correct predictions, number of correct predictions, and do a time weighted thing if they happen sooner versus later. Like if there's some kind of scoring balance we can apply there. Like,
And then we can turn the screenshots into NFTs and sell them. And
like, is a longer term prediction worth more than a shorter term one? Like,
exactly.
We just sell the base as an NFT. We just sell the URL to the base, the shared base.
I'm coming up on my 1 year paid subscription for Miro, and I just I can't get over it.
How great it is? Or what?
Just I can't believe I've been using it for a year. I resisted for like a year and a half moving to Miro because I used another mind mapping tool, and then just begrudgingly Miro doesn't have an import for it. I just went there and I guess it's so weird because I use Miro and Airtable almost all day long, back and forth. I'll be in Airtable and I'll jump to a Miro to take notes for a customer, just because I like the visual nature of seeing the notes in a row. And the other day, I always share that one screenshot of my base layout, and someone said, "Oh, that's your Airtable dashboard." I'm like, "No, but it could be," and it really made me think. Oh, gosh, I just do want an Airtable dashboard, but the problem is once you click into those things, that I think you need to click into like a default view of sorts, and then be able to drill in from there. It's still not there yet. We'll see.
So, do you use Miro more as like a whiteboard or more as like a navigator?
Both, a little bit of both. I mean, I'll just walk you through mine right now. I mean, what I kind of like about it, one is like, I don't need to see your new stuff.
And like how much actually links back and forth? Like, what do you think?
I mean, depending on the base, quite a bit. So let's just take this client that I've been building this Airtable for that's not public yet. But this is what I did all their planning work in. So I just went through and looked at like who their customers were and why we were doing this project in this. So basically you had to like fill this out. And again, these become roles within the Airtable that we ended up building, if you know what I mean. And then we came out and said, okay, so this is what you do to kind of recognize the community in which you're supporting, right? And have all these different other pieces. And then I came in and said, this is the way you communicate to these people. What you see here, this innovation store platform and portal, that's what we're building for them. That's all built on Airtable. So they have all their other things and other programs, but they had no way of really showing the value out to the user base. So what I ended up doing was building kind of this overview for them and then rolling out a yearly roadmap for how these different features, right? So the summit is an actual event they have. The store is the thing that's going to be built to support that summit, if that makes sense. That's the thing that's built in Airtable. But what they were selling legacy, what they are selling, what they could be selling. But then I went in before I even started building anything, and I basically said, this is how it'll look. This is how your Airtable will function. This is who's using it. This is how you're sorting it. Ben, you do a lot of consulting work, so you understand what I'm doing here, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of gave them some ideas of like what you would need from a vendor. So this is when they work with vendors, they send them basically a PDF of this screenshot, so a vendor knows what to put in. And then those vendors go through these process models and then do the signups and things. And basically got a chart down here so they can see what it looks like. So to me, I mean, I love Airtable, but without this Miro as a companion, there's really no way for my client to understand where we're at or what we're going to.
I feel like I'm more surprised that you've only used this for a year after
No, it's
seeing all the things you've built in it.
no. They've just done it for a year, and this is that portal for them.
So what did you do
that,
before?
Nothing. I just did it in my head and said, "Trust me." I'm not. I mean, I'm not trying to be an ass. I just literally, I just couldn't believe. And I hate to say it this way, but there's something about when you give a client this, regardless of what you tell them, they're locked into what you've drawn. You know, I think there's some, you know, and even my, you know, client meetings, like my notes are here. So if they send me an email and I want to say, well, you said this, there's the email. Right? So it's just like, you know, to me, I just think this is the type of thing that like visually, this has become a real thing for me. If I just jump into all my boards, and again, if you look down the side here, you know, again, it's the tight integration to Airtable that's really kind of.
Can you embed
you know,
a view in your Miro?
yeah. If you go into like my actual Airtable, I'll get down here for a second. Call it Now app. Got to move the screen. You'll see all over these little teeny, I don't want to click on that one. That got me in trouble last time. You'll see these little teeny buttons. Get to another one. You have to be so careful. You don't want to like launch the wrong button. There you go. And it just pulls in your Airtable right there.
But you can't like embed that in there.
Yeah, you could literally just put an embed in here if you wanted, but I wanted to be able to come in and actually click into these things as a,
That makes sense.
Yeah. But I think from, you know, from an Airtable point of view, having these things, you know, so our Airtable integration with our balance, our tool, like that, I built this thing on there from our customers. So basically they understand, you know, there's a portal which we ship so that teams can check in, but then we embed the app in there. But the same type of thing. There's a whole process for companies to come in like, hey, you want to use our tool? This is what our tool does. This is how you're going to teach it to your team. This is how you're going to meet your team for a meeting to talk about how you guys are doing. This is what you're going to do when you're ready to step up a level. You're going to roll out this check-in form for your team to come in and actually give you more. These are the triggers you're going to put in Airtable when things rise or fall. Mm-hmm. And this is how you're then going to externalize those views out to the public so you can see how different groups of employees are doing and feeling in real time.
I still think this app is the coolest thing ever.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I'm just interested because like I ended up getting like an iPad at Christmas, and now I'm using like notes on my iPad, and I've done like, you know, random like, you know, base like sketches, and when I'm adding different things, and like, you know.
This is another really interesting one. I had a client that I was working for the Norwegian government recently, and they wanted me to build out a whole system to map the population. Oh, by the way, Thundercats was in the news. You see that, Ben? Did I show you the Thundercat base last time?
I feel like you sent me this, or I saw it recently.
Oh, this isn't the Thundercat base. This isn't Thundercat base, but this was me doing a travel more. But again, I mean, you could build stuff like this in another application, but then to put, you know, link this to an Airtable where you actually had these data points listed and you could tie records up to them from an external system. Like, you know, I think to me, it's the deep visualization of how those things work together that make it so kind of cool. I don't know if I have Thundercat. Let me see if I have the. I have to be so careful. God, I've gotten so much trouble. I've gotten so much trouble recently. Yeah, Thundercat's Bible. So I was so excited when they were like, you saw that thing on. I don't know if you saw it trending the other day, Ben, but I was like, I just talked about that on the show last week.
Yes.
So yeah, it's cool stuff.
So you have 2 pro plans. Did you get all of your credits, or a lot of them, from the YouTube videos or from Secret?
Most of them are from. I mean, most of them are from the YouTube credits. Secret was a nice $1,000, but I probably maybe have $3,000 between them. Plus, I have 500 of Miro credits through Secret.
I saw that as well. So now you can just use that for this year.
That's my plan, because I was actually today I was doing my bills. Should I bring up my bills in Airtable? I can show that so everyone can see how much money I owe the world.
Careful with
I have to
credit
be-
cards.
I know, right? bills is different. But yeah, it's just say I was in here pulling up my bills I had to pay for the month, and I pulled up Miro.
I actually quite like this. This is interesting. It's
You have a
better-
public, you like show your finances and everything very publicly, don't you?
Yeah, I mean my taxes are online and everyone knows
Yeah.
what I make. But then you can see I just put this note in here today about that Miro. So. Yeah, I love the bills because I actually sort my bills by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, I've got my monthly bills, but I can actually tell you how many actually go to keeping like a roof over my head versus how many go to making me feel good about myself versus how many.
Do you actually like actively pay your bills, or is it just auto renewal stuff that you then track? Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll notice that in here, there are different colors. So if it's green, it's automatically going to happen. If it's blue, it's going to happen through another system. Like it's a secondary system. If it's red, it's something I'm manually managing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting.
But then I have another view where things that are in red are things that are going to be big, sort of like the yearly things. Because those things you want to pop out. And I actually use the one Airtable app that rings a bell for the things that renew every year 30 days ahead of time, because usually there's $600 to $1,000 insurances and things like that, and you want to get hey, that's coming up. And I don't let anything over $500 auto renew, and some things I just manage on my own because it's just you can get into crazy trouble with
What is the bell ringing thing?
There's an Airtable app that rings a bell when a record enters a view. So basically any bill that is set to yearly as a bill type. So I've got like time types of my bills. So they're once monthly. I should just do my bill system once on the show, right? Just show people my bill system. So once, monthly, quarterly, etc. But anything that's set to yearly that's over X dollars, when it enters the view, a bell goes off. So I know like, hey, this bill's coming up.
Like,
so
what do you mean a bell?
biggie.
Like an actual audio notification?
Yeah. There's an app for there's literally an app to ring a bell. It's an Airtable app.
Yeah,
It's one of their.
Does it just go off once, or does it keep like how do you know you're
it dings until you silences it.
Okay, so
yeah.
say, what if it rings,
I wish they would let you do the sound, because I would do all sorts of sounds for things. I'd go old school 90s PC where like you had a sound for every action.
The Chime app.
The Chime.
Never knew the Chime app existed. Get notified when records enter or exit a view.
I've never heard of this. And I thought I looked at them all.
Chime app's awesome.
I feel like that'd be a really funny, what are those called? Like Annoyatron devices to like set up in someone's base. You get like a notification too.
Just to mess with them.
Yeah, like set up a chime whenever like some base that they frequently use. So then their device just keeps chiming at them for no reason. Well, for a reason, but
that'll be awesome.
Do we have any other Airtable news? We are at the rest of the hour.
I didn't realize it was this late already.
Yeah,
no, nothing really. I mean, I just noticed they're doing a lot more. I mean, a lot of these blogs are coming out, and I mean, they're just getting to be a real big company. But I guess that last round kind of made it a big deal. I still think it's going to be interesting the rest of this year. We'll have to do one of the predictions of how this is going to shake out. They have so many small users. Oh, taco's floating, nacho floating. They have so many small users that are, managing these complex systems, and I think it's going to be a good year to watch them kind of grow. But we should do this. We should try to get take apart a table a week or something. And look at, bills, another table I think that I use a lot that I'd love to show other people how I use is documents. So like all my documents, I have one view that's just called critical view. That's everything you need in case of emergency. I have one view called wallet view. That's if you lose your wallet,
And these are like the interesting things that like get people on this journey, let's call it, right? Like, these kind of smaller use cases that people are like, yeah, like that would be useful in my life.
Yeah. Because if you look at just my base table list, I mean, it kind of starts with like who you are, what you value, your timeline, kind of your big moments, the goals you have, the projects that roll up the goals, the tasks that roll up the projects, the journals that kind of run all of that, things you think of go in the inbox, the people you deal with, the organizations you deal with, the money, cash, debit cards, things you have, the bills that money actually goes out to, the documents that get created from those monies. The ledger, the transactions that come in every single day, like as you know, that's the thing that's tied to my real-time transactions. Assets, assets is super cool because assets is like basically everything you have in your house, right? Everything you own in your life, major asset review.
Yeah, you put serial numbers, like
everything,
value, whether or not it's covered by insurance, like.
Exactly. And then the insurance, the insurance plans, when they renew, and that the insurance is linked to the insurance bill, which is linked, which is, the room that thing is in, assets, and then places, which is really interesting. So places is a thing where if you want to, we actually have everything in our house and our lives, even external places, and then the assets that roll up to those places. What are you laughing at?
The half.
How many of those tags do you have?
Materials, toilet paper.
Yeah, we don't have toilet paper reels, or we don't have a toilet paper. We don't have toilet paper. Places, and then apps. The virtual. They're just basically virtual places. What you have, how you pay for them, where you use them at. Ties into rescue time, so you can actually see if you're getting your money's worth. And then health, basically anything to do with your body and life. And CRM, which is basically all my customers, the products, the things I do for other people.
I like that these all default to like nice views.
That I'm telling you, I am such a stickler about that. Every single view has, like we talked about last show, has a default view, which has to have what I call like the perfect view. But then underneath that, you've got basically what I call the preferred view. And that's the one it's always got to go to. Because it's got to feel good when I use it, or I'm just going to pull my hair out.
I definitely need to clean up.
Do you run your life on Airtable, Devin?
I have my finances on it, which I just import like data and run a couple quick things and see what vendors I've spent money on over the year. But
does the way I organize this make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more than I would need right now, but like the logical flow makes sense.
Doesn't it? I worked really hard on the logical flow. I'll be honest with you. That is what I'm most proud of. Because like before I ever showed anyone this base 2 years ago, I remember when I did that first video on Keep Productive, I was so scared. But I thought a lot about like, what is the order to my life? Me, like the things that I couldn't just take on tasks and bills anymore. They had to come through something. That's how the whole value system came into play.
And it's interesting to see that, and then also kind of think about the large one I made for the farm and see like, how different bits got added on as being relevant, and like how I have my finance one, but I could also see like, okay, well I could see adding parent or child tables or various things that then create more or other relevant things that would end up you wanted in the same thing rather than being like an isolated finance tool.
And what I really love, I kind of see a future where like two people would like have their own bases, but then when they meet and get married, their bases would have to integrate with each other. And the other thing I just can't wait is when we, right. The other thing I can't wait for is like when we can actually have these tables. Like I should be able to sync a table to Ben. Like Ben shouldn't have to recreate my organization space to have like every single company I deal business with, because he probably deals with a lot of the same companies too, like the grocery stores and car companies and stuff. But like we always have to recreate the wheel every time we want to have a big base like that, like documents.
The interesting thing in like the whole vertical farming space is one of the things that we've like been doing is tracking a list of similar farms or technology providers and whatnot, and there's people in the space that, like, some of my old colleagues that work at other places now that are doing the same thing on their side. And, I know one guy has a list of like 350. I got a list of like 380. Another guy's got a list of like 400. But like, we don't know how many of those are the same, how many of those are different places. Like,
Crazy.
And you don't want to share all your research, but it'd be interesting to at least share like, be able to sync that core list, like you said.
Can I show you guys what Airtable looks like on a 50-inch monitor?
On a 50?
Oh.
Yeah. What's 49?
Yes.
Because I usually don't share my whole screen, but I think it's so funny to see how a widescreen looks. Let me go ahead and
you have
make
a
sure I've got.
50-inch monitor that you use in your like office?
Yeah, I'm staring at it right now.
I made that mistake on one of my first few YouTube videos. I had a 27-inch iMac and I had it on full screen. That's crazy. You can see almost not quite all your tables.
Yeah, not all of them. Yeah, I still have a bunch of weird ones out here, but you can see every single. What I love is you can move this puppy, that kind of lock puppy, that thing that kind of locks the columns. I love moving that thing out, and it's just this massive thing. Or because it's 49 inches, you can have two Airtables, at 25 inches a piece side by side, and then it's just like so sick, And my Airtable was epic before last February, but when I got this monitor at the beginning of the pandemic, my Airtable went like 100 degrees because you can't manage what you can't see.
Now, is it like a monitor or a TV?
It's just a monitor. It's a Samsung ultra wide. If you can Google it, Samsung ultra wide.
Like
they're pretty
curved ones.
Yeah, it's wrapped around me right now, okay. So it's like my arms can't even. it's huge. Plus, I got studio lights, right? And they actually work through Alexa. Alexa, turn off Showtime. So I tried to do a whole Beetlejuice thing, so I could say, it's Showtime. Alexa, turn on Showtime. Yeah, so it's.
You don't have any enabled video skills that can do that.
Whose machine has gone crazy?
Mine. Alexa is not prepped to talk to Chris.
That's the
but listen,
you should be able to name it something else.
For as digitized as I am, I still have papers and folders.
Huh.
That's a minor shock to me.
Right? Well, I have clients, they'll call me up and they'll be like, well, you said this, and I don't want, and we'll be in a Zoom meeting. And they'll say, you said this, and I don't want to share my screen. I want to do this. See this? This is what that says. There's something visceral about tapping on paper when someone says, you said no, this is what we said, and you signed it. Here.
Gotta remember, still going to the Facebook group.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Hi, Facebook. I'm actually lovely to work with. Better put some healing hands on. This week's episode brought to you by Healing Hands. Before you do your base, make sure you discharge your hands.
We got Guy in the Facebook group that said, hey guys, and then Bobby said, are all your tables linked to each other, or do you have some orphan tables?
For me, every single table is linked to every other table.
Hopefully that answers.
And because the order they go in, I mean, so again, it just makes sense. Even like the order, if you look at the table, the order in which they're linked is in the same order. Because the biggest part of having your life managed this way is remembering that when things are, like if you're paying a bill, like that's not just a bill, but it's linked to a company that might be linked to an asset, right? It's definitely linked to a document. Because at some point it'll go back once the transaction goes through, it's linked to a transaction, right? And you should be able to pick up your life like this and then drop it or pick up any piece. Another reason, like when you think about your life and you think of like, where is the iPad? Well, the iPad's in Chris's office. Well, do you look at the assets table? Do you look at the places table? Right? Do you look at the transactions table? You can look at any of them. The beauty of connecting your life and using Airtable, and this is what most people miss about Airtable, isn't the fact it's all connected. It's the fact you don't have to think as hard. Like you treat your life like a virtual space where things could be in these buckets. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm thinking about how you could go from your values to find your iPad because it's all connected.
Interesting enough, I can.
Where you would go into your database, but you could eventually find the iPad.
I can actually find anything through values. Yeah. And oftentimes what I always love about it is, again, values are really interesting, but if you think about the three areas you really want to track values, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, and how you spend your commitments, right? So your time is like everything that happens in your journal table, emails, calendar appointments, stuff like that, money, bills, transactions, right? So you can see very quickly the money you have to go to. So one of our goals as a family is 40% of all of our life functions should go to service. That means to other people. So 40% of my income should go to supporting other people and things. 40% of my transactions every week should go to supporting other people and things. That's kind of like my goal, right? Some people want to retire. I just want 40% of my time I want to make dedicated to other people. Ben, you've been service for a long time.
And so Airtable makes it really easy to track what percent of your time, your commitments, your
because it's just every journal transaction is tied to a value. Every ledger is tied to a value. Every asset's tied to a value. And again, if you look at if you don't think about your bills via like it's a bill type, but you think of it by a value, your bills make a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. And so your value, one of your values would be service to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense because you could just you can pull it up from anywhere and you can get that value.
Yeah. It's fun stuff.
I gotta head out. But
all right, Devin. Yeah. Good seeing you again. See you next week.
We'll see you.
Cut it off here. So thank you guys for joining in the Facebook group. And there's a link in the description to fill out an Airtable form for your predictions. And I'll make a few posts about it this week to remind people. But I look forward to seeing you next week for week 12. And without further ado, I'm going to end it here.